how terrible. Pistachios here. That might lure. 15 seconds.
Okay, you're on. Good evening from the Tibet Center in South Orange, New Jersey. We will start by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, which you can find underneath in the what section, Johnny?
No, I forgot. When is it? Hold on to prayers. FAQ section.
In the FAQ section, you'll find all the prayers that we recite. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Now we'll recite the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no object of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva.
O
Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be known just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering, the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Gosh, there are a lot of mistakes on here. Generating bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So let us now recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. We'll do a rosary. So think about the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum. Crowds pouring in. Good evening.
Lady Pistachio.
Thank you. Hi.
So we're reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. So while doing so, think of the meaning of Om, which is our body, speech, and mind in their impure form, and the eventual fully enlightened body, speech, and mind of a Buddha, and then Mani, which is the method aspect of our practice, the cultivation of compassion, loving kindness, and Padme, the wisdom aspect of our practice, the realization of emptiness, and Hum, which is bringing these two qualities together. And it is by bringing these two, the method and the wisdom aspects of our practice together, that we purify our body, speech, and mind. So, Om is the body, speech, and mind. Auma, Mani, is the method aspect of our practice. Padme is the wisdom aspect of our practice. And Hum is the bringing the method and the wisdom together. So think about this as you recite it, and think about the quality of compassion that this mantra represents and is meant to instill, meant to cultivate within us. Compassion being the wish to remove the suffering of others. Okay. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme So, we have been discussing Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I find this book truly extraordinary, truly inspiring. Each page, each paragraph
Yes.
just gets one thinking. So, last week we discussed, let's see where we got, how if human action can create problems in the first place, then surely we humans have the capacity as well as the responsibility to find their solutions.
What page are you on? Or is this random number? That's it. No, it's okay.
Page 84. Right, just before global responsibility, we were talking about how, what is it that we can do to change the situation that we have brought about by irresponsible behavior. And we were discussing the fact that the one thing that we can do is work on our own behavior. It's very difficult to have any effect on others. And as His Holiness says, the only way we can put them right is by changing our outlook and our ways and by taking action. So changing our outlook and our ways. What are the ways by which we change our outlook and our ways? What does that mean?
Stop clinging to things.
So you're suggesting that clinging to things is the
It's the thing that makes you can make you make wrong actions, right?
Mhm. What are the things that we cling to?
Outcomes, expectations.
Outcomes and expectations. So we cling to an outcome,
We cling to
a hope, an expectation.
yes.
And then we become unhappy because we don't.
Well, because you can't. The very beginning of it, you said you can't control things outside yourself. So you can't control things outside yourself, so you shouldn't even bother making that should not be something that you want.
So I'm going to read it over. The quote, if human action can create problems in the first place, then surely we humans must have the capacity as well as the responsibility to find their solutions. So we've created problems, and we can now find the solution to those problems. And you're saying that the problem comes as a result of our wishing for and clinging to things.
But isn't that also weird that that's being said when at some other point there's a thing that they say where well, it's just kind of slipped my mind, but you can't, if there's a solution, if there's no solution, you shouldn't worry about it, you know, and I've always been, I'm easily annoyed, but I'm annoyed because I'm a problem solver. That's my job. So when people say if there's no apparent solution, you shouldn't worry about it, I think that's wrong. I think you need to worry about everything.
No, but here I think that the problem is worry doesn't help.
Well, it is if it's your motivator.
Okay. So for most people, worry is not a motivator. Worry is sheer angst and suffering.
You're defeated already with worry. There's a sense that you can't conquer this problem. So you generate an anxiety and a worry.
If having recognized the problem, you say to yourself as a problem solver, I've got to do something about this, and this is what I'm going to research it, and I'm going to see what I'm doing. You're following that prescription. If you, through your logical ability and your knowledge, come to the conclusion that there's nothing you can do about it, then it would be sort of silly to worry. I think that's the meaning of it.
But also, don't you, when the way you say it, right? If you make a determination that nothing can be done, sometimes that just feels like you're giving up. Like how do you know? Because we don't know everything, but we're going to make a decision that there's no solution. That just means that we lack whatever it takes to find that solution. We lack the energy, we lack the knowledge, whatever. So we're giving up.
So I don't think that particular quotation applies to those things where we're just giving up. I think it applies to those things where, if the time period for getting something, for something happening is over, we can't bring that back.
Right.
And so to worry about it, I'm not coming up with an example, but I think
Deadlines. The deadline is passed.
If there's a solution, now, you don't know if there's a solution unless you really studied it in the first place. That's why I think the quote, if there's a solution, why worry? There's no solution, why worry? But the whole thing depends on you understanding the problem properly, I would think. I never do, but
no, but you're right to put your finger on something, which is this should not be a cop-out. This should not be, I can't do anything about it, and feel good about turning your back on it. No, that's not what
that's my style. Yes, you're right. It doesn't work, but
Well, it's also when you're faced with something that is important to you, admitting that you have no control over it is very hard. And then letting go of that is very hard. Like, to say, you know, maybe I'm just not the one to fix it, or maybe I'm just not the one who can solve this. You know, there's a lot going on right now where it's painful to watch. People dying, people starving, people whatever. You feel like it's unjust, you feel like it's wrong, but I don't know that, I certainly don't feel like I know what I could do. I just feel sad.
So this is where what we were discussing last week, I think, is really relevant. What we can do is work on ourselves within the interdependent dynamic of existence. We are a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're there. And even if we can't actually have an effect on the situation that we're worried about, we still can work on ourselves. And we can work at, let's say, developing a little more humility. We can work at developing a little more wisdom. We can work at developing a little more concern for others. And those efforts that we put into improving ourselves shifts the dynamic, shifts, you know, what you are saying you are feeling frustrated about right now. And that is work that we can do all by ourselves.
But how realistic is it to say that, I mean, sort of in a, I think that my ego's not big enough to think that any improvement in myself is gonna have an impact on anybody. I mean, I believe in being virtuous because it's the right thing to do, but I don't think that little me is gonna impact the problems that concern me.
He just gave you the answer before. We're in it.
Yeah, sure. You know, it's funny because also, I was just having a conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago about that old saying where if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. You know, and that was
That
really
indicates
corny.
you're in it.
And that was really corny, right? Because you had to be. It's very binary. You're either this or you're that. There's no spectrum. Like, which side of the fence are you going to be on? But to improve yourself, that is a spectrum. You know, it's an ongoing thing. It's not. I mean, there are lots of layers to the whole thing.
There are lots of layers. You're going to say something?
Oh, please.
There are lots of layers, but the only layer that we have any control over is this layer.
Mm-hmm.
And this layer, I think that, yes, we can be humble and we can be modest and we can not think that we can really affect the trajectory of humanity's direction. But every effort that we make at developing some kind of concern for others, and every effort that we make at refraining from our own selfish tendencies has some tiny little effect on it all.
It has to, yes. What?
I kind of think of motivation as being a wheel with different spokes in it, and motivation at my level is impure. If you take compassion as the primary motivator being pure, then all the other spokes in the wheel of motivation are impure, and that might be ambition, it might be anxiety about not being able to fix a problem, it might be all the different things that go into any motivating you for any small thing or particularly large things. I mean, you think of like a young person who's going out to save the world and they want to prove themselves to the adults. They also are motivated by a lot of compassion. And you kind of need to try just to focus on the compassion, but maybe use some, I don't know exactly how to do this, but use some of the energy from the other motivators and then focus more and more on compassion and let some of those drop aside. But it seems that they're almost necessary when we're young and, not very focused, and, that they improve outcomes to a point, but they're also damaging at the same time.
In the monastery, we debate, and you'll have young debaters who are very sharp, and they become proud, and they are able to defeat their opponents. Defeat meaning they are able to get their opponents to contradict themselves, and when the opponent contradicts a statement that he had initially made in the debate, the challenger will say "tsa," which means shame, and you are
This is heavy treatment here.
you are and these you lead the person you're challenging along this logical path that leads to his contradicting what he initially said, and then once he makes the contradiction, once he actually states something that contradicts what he initially said, you come along with this tsa. And you see these debaters with great pride tsaing out their opponents, especially when we have the public debates where you have two defendants sitting on a throne, and then you have the whole monastery being led by one or two of the sharper ones challenging challenging the defendants, and then so you see this this motivation which is impure, but which is leading them further and further in their studies, and then you find that slowly they evolve, and so that the energy is used to sort of keep you going and have you study harder and go farther, and then you have the competition that all of these things are actually made use of. And of course a teacher will tell his student, try to diminish that arrogance, that show, that pride that you're demonstrating, but it is recognized to be of some benefit in going deeper, and then you hopefully there will be the transformation that you're talking about as we study and debate compassion and the aspects of compassion and the quality of the way it is essential at the beginning of our practice, in the middle of our practice, and at the end of our practice. All of those things suddenly begin to affect so it's
Affects the audience too, I would think. A lot. I mean, really, the one on the point, of course, is really constant. But I mean, just hearing this casually probably helps educate you, I guess.
Yes, attending debates is meant to. You're not just sitting there watching. You're listening, and you're being affected by it.
Thinking of your own reply, what it would be from.
Something that, or just being moved by the more and more subtle revelations that arise through it.
Are these examinations for like the next level, this or that, or they're just debates to sharpen up your intellect? Does a degree depend on
both? We have debates that are just part of the curriculum to explore what you're studying, and then you have the examination debates that determine your rank.
Is only this rank, not just pass or fail, but rank.
Mm-hmm.
So
Isn't it though, it doesn't, if the behavior includes some sort of ego or intimidation, then winning the argument isn't gonna be solely on the logic, right? It could
Winning
be
the argument is solely on the logic.
always.
That's what I mean, of course, yes, but even sometimes a good debater is able to use the logic to get you to trip up. You may know what's correct, but you get confused by the sharp, the trap, the sort of logical trap that the challenger has posed for you, and then you get all muddled. That used to happen to me.
Do they ever record them, or is there any
Sure.
way to hear them if you're not part of the monastery?
Yeah, you should. I'm sure that you can find on YouTube
It'd be
debates.
interesting. I've never heard one. I'll look.
But that's yes. That's just an example of what you're saying. There are all sorts of giving to beggars. You know, there are times when we do it with a certain amount of pride, and we may be showing off or whatever. And then there are times when we really do it, and it varies. You know, we vary. We change so much from moment to moment.
Even blessing the food, sometimes you're sincere, so it's hurry up, we gotta eat. Mostly the latter.
But here, what we're really, I think, dwelling on is the effect that our own practice can have on the trajectory of existence. And I think that it's important to I think that as spiritual practitioners, it's important to assume some kind of, I'm not sure assume is the right word, engage in our lives in the belief that we must do our best. That's, you know, that I think no matter what the religion is that we're engaging in, if not, there's no reason to actually engage in any virtuous practice. Because as you say, it's not that we can really do anything about the, you know, the evils that are happening in the world. It's not that that our
Well, what if you, even if you just go on your merry way and you're virtuous, that's going to, and like if you combine being virtuous with having compassion, even if you have no expectations of the big picture, you're going to, it's my understanding, that you'll, that you're, I don't know the right phrase to use, but it has a positive effect on your karma. Even if you don't have the expectation that you're going to be changing anything, you're just choosing at every moment to be virtuous and compassionate. It's just a simple way to live.
and any aspect of virtuous karma contributes to virtue. You're saying even if we don't see that.
Right, I mean, even if that's not a motivating factor, it's like, I used to have, my ex-roommate, we used to talk about it, how, you could just be virtuous for virtue's sake. You didn't have to be proving anything or following anything or whatever, it was just what you felt you should be doing. It's the way you felt good about yourself or whatever. Not too much thought put to it, but it's the thing to do.
I had a question related to some things you've both been saying. It seems like I hear that you're not supposed to be attached, say, to the outcome of something when you're doing an action. But I read, and it might have been in that book, it was somewhere not too long ago, that I'm not sure if this is correct, that what is usually meant by that is more that the outcome might be your own good karma, and you shouldn't be attached to getting good karma from the deeds that you're doing. And it's not that you shouldn't, work really hard, and I don't know quite what the difference is between being attached and really being focused on, an outcome. If you're treating someone who's sick, you obviously want them to get well. You don't want to destroy yourself if they don't. But does that make sense, what I'm saying? Are you not, I guess, what does it mean? How do you see what it means to be not attached to an outcome when that's said?
And
What's the meaning?
it has something to, there's a tie-in with motivation somewhere in there, right? What is the motivation for your action? Like, is your motivation that you think you're earning brownie points? Or is your motivation to just simply do the act, help a person feel better or whatever?
Well, it's earning brownie points would be a process, but the outcome, and it's process and outcome both, because getting good karma from the deed would be the outcome. So I'm not sure that dividing point would be a good one in there, but please.
So when we talk about brownie points, is it related to brownies?
I wish it was. It would be a better taste.
What?
Brownie points? Oh, just
Nothing
winning
to
a
do with
little
Cub
badge
Scouts.
along the way. The brownies are the Girl Scouts, right? And
Brownies are Cub Scouts,
Cub
and the
Scouts.
female, and the Girl Scouts
Yeah,
are
yeah.
Girl Scouts.
So
And I
it's
won't
just
go into the joke on here.
it's a kind of pointing at when you're young. It's really easy to motivate you because you're getting your little points along the way. So you're doing it for your little reward, right? Anything you do, your little badge, your little whatever.
But we do work towards accomplishing good in the spirit that when you are treating someone who is ill, you are working towards a result, a good result. We can say that what's important is the effort that you put into it, not whether the person lives or dies. But you are working towards helping that person live or helping that person recover from whatever the ailment is. Right?
Yeah, what the outcome is, to me, in a lot of endeavors, the outcome, it just plain is important. That's why I'm doing it. So I guess I've just been stymied sometimes. I don't understand what the meaning, and it might be different in different texts.
The meaning of, say it specifically.
Don't be attached to the outcome.
To the outcome. I've heard that in a number of Buddhist texts.
Yes.
So I think that the important word in that is not don't seek an outcome, but don't be attached. The attached aspect of it is what's wrong. And it by being attached to some particular outcome blocks any kind of real evolution, any kind of real change. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but if we are attached to what we think it should be, we're going to be disappointed. We're going to be unhappy. I think it's more in that.
Attached is the changing, the word that changes.
Yeah.
So there's a really, this is
It's a dirty word in Buddhism,
Well,
attachment,
this-
looks like it.
We work towards an outcome. That's our whole, we are working. When we in Lamrim we talk about the three levels of beings. You have the person of lower scope who is working towards the outcome of a better future life. You have the medium scope being who is working towards the attainment of freedom from cyclic existence. You have the great scope being who is working towards the attainment of Buddhahood in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings. Those are all, you're working towards those goals. And within the Lamrim tradition, what you are trying to do is incorporate the aims of the lower scope being, the medium scope being, and eventually use them towards the attainment of Buddhahood. That's a goal. That's what we're working towards. And we're doing so in the belief that the most effective way by which we can benefit others is to attain that goal. So it shouldn't be for ourselves. It should be to serve others. And the importance of our realization of emptiness is that the way by which we attain that goal is by recognizing that there's no self, there's no
That's
no
when the
me.
attachment comes in, I see. That cleans it up. Really does. Like you said before, the coming together method of wisdom makes everything clean. What's that? Sorry.
The purifier of our motivation as we progress becomes, I think that this realization that there is no self, the realization of selflessness and the emptiness of self, and to, at our level, we study it. We develop a better and better understanding of it intellectually. And that process actually affects us. The more we can understand what this self is that has to be negated, what the self is that is the cause of all our misery, what the self is that is the root of cyclic existence, as we come to just intellectually study what that self is, we are affecting the universe.
You used to say samsara's cracking. They do that. So there is the self. What the self is. Wow, that's easy to talk about, but hard to understand deeply.
And Carol, you were suggesting that the efforts that we make may not have much effect, but the efforts that we make really do have an effect and should be made in the belief that the greatest effect we can have on the world is as a result of this work, this inner work.
Isn't there ego involved in thinking that way?
The basis of it is coming to recognize that there is no ego. I mean, this is the work that all of these steps are at undermining, diminishing, taking apart this structure that we think of as me, ego. The ability to be generous in a pure way is as a result of not clinging to a self. The ability to combat anger, to be patient, the ability to really lead an ethical life, the ability to all the virtuous qualities that we have, to make them pure, we have to rid them of this sense of self. And so, no would be my answer.
Well, I agree with you that those other things that you mentioned are about letting go of the ego or not acknowledging ego or whatever, where you jump into it. But the thing is that the minute you say something like, if I attain this, then I will have the ability to, to do. Anytime you start talking about how grand it is, right? Just even the sense that you should say that it's going to be grand, I'm going to be master of the universe or whatever, then the ego has come back into it.
So if you make your practice, that's what I began this little section by saying, is that it's really important that we study this, even simply intellectually. That intellectual study of this subject of emptiness will counter what you're talking about. If your intellectual focus is at seeing the following the sort of logical lines of reason that undermine the basis for pride, you're affecting the basis for pride.
Okay.
And pride diminishes slightly.
Yes. When we used to study the Lam Ram, and remember the session or maybe it was a prayer we would say, where you're, I'll paraphrase, the person that's the worst to you, that,
Yes,
8 verses for changing the
the
mind.
thing is,
it
it's
hurts me very badly. I should do that person as an excellent spiritual guide sometime.
No, but I've noticed an improvement in myself with my patience and my ability to sort of, I don't even know the word to use or the words to use, but not engage in the kind of, like, I don't get hooked into the same kinds of relationships or arguments or positions. I have more patience, and I can listen better, and I can, the whole thing about understanding someone else, putting yourself in their shoes or whatever, those things have improved. I noticed that in
That's good.
myself, but it's easier to recognize that that's an improvement, and it does make things better. But that's as far as I feel comfortable speaking to it. I don't ever want to say, like the step further than that, which would be the master of the universe. Like I've achieved these masterful somethings. I haven't. It's almost like I haven't gained anything. It's that I've been able to let go of things.
So I think, Tony and I came to the Tibet Center in 1977, a few months apart.
About an hour apart.
Tony is my senior.
Yes, of course.
And I think that we can honestly say that, after whatever this is, 45 years of practice and study, and we haven't really recognized any true progress in terms of pride and anger and these things, but we have developed a greater admiration for patience and for humility. And these, we shouldn't expect to see great changes. The fact that we're here after 45 years and that we continue to work at this will hopefully lead us further. But they're changing the mind, changing ourselves is a long, long process. And when I say long, I'm talking lifetimes. And we sort of resume this. Hopefully we are able to be reborn as human beings to continue this. I don't mean to suggest that our coming here is futile. On the contrary, it may be a slow process, but it's a process, and we can recognize, and as I say, the fact that we are sitting here is proof that there's some momentum that
I'm
we have.
alive after all these years. That's a big thing. I don't think I would have been without this information. I'm sure I wouldn't.
I'm sorry to
No, you're right.
to
And not only the place here, but seems to be still helping people that come in and out. We've seen people,
the crowds that are
thousands,
here.
it's just, I wish,
Yes.
there's not enough room on the street, otherwise we put out,
No, I'm terribly thankful.
that's ricochet.
The exposure, I couldn't have gotten it anywhere else, and all the little pieces that came together and continue to come together.
There he is, behind Mickey, who started
And-
this.
Yeah, I feel sad that, that I didn't know him.
I don't know if anyone of us knew his full being.
No, but I mean, my exposure to him was very short.
This is him.
Yeah, well done.
But this is also you. And I think it's important that each of us recognize that we are here as a result of the work that we have done, that we are doing.
We created the cause, as you're saying.
Yeah. You're here. You've come here. And I don't want to suggest that here is special. Here is simply that we are coming together, working at developing a deeper understanding of the path, a path. I don't want to say a Buddhist path as opposed to as we discuss secular ethics, a path of cultivating the ethical basis for making the world a better place.
Yeah, it's exposure to seeing that things can be seen differently, that you can choose to see things differently than you did previously, that you can it's learning, but it's more than that.
Well, there's work to be done. It's not that we just muse on all this. There are practices. We have to actually work at, it's so important, for example, to set your motivation for the day in the morning. Determine that we are going to work towards being a little less selfish and a little more devoted to others, that we are going to work towards trying to hold ourselves back from losing our temper, that we're going to work towards leading our lives in a more ethical way, and thinking about those things in the morning really affects our day, really affects our minds, and then at the end of the day, going over what we've done and regretting when we've lost our temper, regretting when we pushed in situations where we shouldn't have, regretting those things, and rejoicing in the fact that we sat and, let's say, read that His Holiness's new stages of the path, and struggled with parts of it that are sort of tough to understand. Whatever it is that we did, those two things. There are all sorts of ways in which we can actually affect ourselves. It's not just we can do work.
The two bookends are very important. If you just motivate yourself in the way, every morning motivate you, but never checked, I think that wouldn't work. I don't know.
There's it's like it's going the full circle. When you start the day, you prime yourself, and then you check back in with yourself at the end of the day, and you say, did you achieve what you intended? Yeah. So,
And
you know,
you'll
I
get better
used to be
sleep.
better. I used to be better at that. You know, I guess it
Oh,
depends
you're
on
bad at it. No, it's the way you
how
talk.
chaotic life is. You know,
Oof.
you forget yourself sometimes.
It is chaos.
No, we forget ourselves all the time.
forgot
Our
what-
day
what-
is full of
let me look at my
forgetting
thing.
ourselves. And so
And
if we
everything
have
else.
these two moments where we actually concentrate on pulling it all together, but we forget ourselves. But the more we put effort, the more we actually begin to, we forget less.
Yeah, that's true.
These are questions, Darren?
Statements.
Hard to read. Aurora says, you want me to read them out loud? No.
Yes, yes.
Aurora Lopez, grateful for all of the causes and conditions and deeper understanding of love and compassion, which is my motivating inspiration each and every day for the benefit of all beings. Very nice. Nothing better than that. Now let's see, how do you get this? Carol, how do I get the next? Done, okay. Okay. And this is, what the heck is this? Soon Smythe. Nicholas Marshall, Carol's little me can change with the world because she's interdependent with everything else. Soon Smythe is his name? S-M-Y. Nicholas Marshall, Carol's little, oh I see, it's his real name. Little me can change the world because she's interdependent with everything else.
The fact that you are interdependent with everything else means that the effort that you put into bettering your own thoughts is related to everything else. Is that what
I would think that's it. Yeah. You're in it, whether you like it or not. I don't know, but thanks, Darren. Keeps the dialogue going. Do we have names?
So
Yes.
Lance Morrow,
Lance Morrow,
the husband
longtime
of
friend, husband of Susan
Susan
Morrow.
Morrow, is a student of Rinpoche's.
Porter
friend
used
of
to write the
ours.
editorial page of Time magazine over the years.
So let's we will read the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels, and then we will read the 8 verses on training the mind, which is what you were referring to before. Do you have this? You have it? Okay. All right. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed the river over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All views of the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore, the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So let's read the 8 verses on training the mind.
Right before the
Right.
Dalai Lama. Prayer.
That with the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest among all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. when the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone, without exception, all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. So let us end by reciting a prayer for the swift return of Trungpa Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lobsang Tubang Doje Chan, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing for long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhisattva, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tenpe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. Thank you.
Thank you.